All right, Deputy Chief Young, doing a sound check. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Can we hear him?
Maybe I have to unmute. Okay,
I didn't hear him.
Deputy Chief, can you say something again?
Yeah, can you hear me?
All right, we can't hear you, but I'm just testing something here.
Can we hear these folks?
Not yet. So he can hear me, but Greg, can you say something, please?
Okay, how are you? Can you hear
We're
me?
not hearing him.
It's us, it's not.
Okay,
Okay,
It's me, not you.
it's us. Hold on.
yeah, because I could hear the chief when he spoke.
Hey, Jeff. Take that in the mouth.
Okay, testing.
Hey, Chief Young, can you hear us okay?
Yes, can hear you just fine.
Can you give us a couple tests? We can't hear you in here.
Okay, let me check something else.
He's writing me right now. He can hear us. We just.
Yeah, I can hear. Can you hear me now?
Sorry.
Phone silence.
Yeah, it's good.
Hey, we're trying to start the council meeting and we can't hear the virtual audience. What do we
No
need to
choice.
check? They can hear us, but they can't. Well, yeah, so Caitlin's logged in, she's unmuted. Okay.
Did you get this?
Yeah,
Ben?
I don't know if it's-
It's not Dougie stuff.
Yeah, and then quick share. Yeah. Maybe your speakers. Check your speakers. On her milk PC. Yeah, I know. That's what we're looking at. No, she's 100% on. Should it be on same system? Same as system? Okay. Okay, here, you talk. Sorry.
Is there a way, Kelly, that we can run it through your computer for now? Hear people?
Sure. I don't know how the audio will be, but we can try it.
Because they can hear us.
Yeah.
The only person we need, well, let's go citizen comments.
Yeah. Just checking two more things real quick, so. Mine's still active. They like it.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and just get started. And if there's citizens comments that want to be citizens comments, we'll just have them do them in a written form and submit them if they're online.
Okay, Jeff, just give me a thumbs up if you can hear us. Okay,
Yeah,
they can hear,
They
so,
can hear us, we just can't hear you.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. Wait, Jeff, can you try a test again?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, just in time.
Yay, we're back. All right. Mayor, we're ready to go. Sorry about that.
Wait, 6 minutes.
Just kidding.
All right, are we live? Hopefully that wasn't all live, but are we live?
It was, yes.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and get this meeting started. It is March 8th, 2022. It is 6:06, and this is going to be a hybrid meeting with Zoom and in person here in the mill, downtown Lake Stevens. And this is going to be a city council meeting of the Lake Stevens City Council. With that, I would ask everyone to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great, thank you. And Clerk Jones, can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Daughtry,
Present.
Councilmember Peter Shagan,
Present.
Councilmember Frederick,
Present.
Councilmember Dickinson. Present. Councilmember Jorstad. Here. Councilmember Ewing,
Present.
Councilmember Tajik.
Present.
Great, and if we get approval of the agenda, Council President?
Okay, do we have any changes to the agenda?
Yes, I'd like to make one change. Item F, move to action items from the consent agenda. I have a couple of questions in regards to that.
Okay. Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so item F has been moved to action items. Any other amendments or additions?
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Mary, you've got it. Yes,
Excellent, thank you very much. Let's move to, I don't think we have any guest business tonight. So let's move to citizens' comments. And how we do citizens' comments in this environment is we ask for a raise of hands if you are online. And if you're here in person, go ahead and raise your hand as well. I don't know if we have any green sheets filled out for anyone in person. We, for citizens' comments, we do 3 minutes. We ask you to state your name and address, and then you give 3 minutes to address the city council. So with that, is there anyone online who wishes to address the city council? Chilling.
No, I'm not seeing anybody. So again, raise hand in Zoom if you would like to speak.
Nobody?
Nobody.
Anybody in person for citizens' comments? Not seeing anybody. So with that, we'll move forward on the agenda to council business. Council President.
All right, Councilmember Jorstad.
Thank you, President Ewing. I'd like to
say thank you to Lake Stevens Police Department for putting on a great polar plunge event. A couple of us were brave enough to jump into the water. But more importantly, it was a great turnout, a lot of money raised for Special Olympics, just a great community opportunity to come together, lots of allies and supporters. And so hopefully that'll become an annual event. I was really pleased. It was really fun. Also went to the monthly Board of Health meeting today. Mask mandate ends this Friday at midnight. Numbers continue to go down, hospitalizations continue to go down. It was good to see things kind of turn in the corner, and just hopeful that they keep moving in that direction. So I think that's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Dickinson.
Yes, thank you. The polar plunge was amazing. My daughter and I are committed to doing it again next year. Thank you to Councilmember Jorstad and her son for participating as well. A shout out to Chief Bezzo and the other officers who literally jumped off the pier. The ducks were petrified. I attended my second school board meeting at Mount Pilchuck Elementary. It was a great learning experience, hearing from the teachers there how they are approaching teaching students kindness and understanding. I think it's really needed. The students it's been a difficult time for students, especially elementary age. The Student Advisory Committee also spoke and is very interested in connecting with the Youth Advisory Committee, which I think would be fabulous. So we'll work on that. It was great to see Mayor Gailey at the Friends of the Library meeting last week, but I just want you to know, Mayor Gailey, that we're off the hook for doorbelling for a while. Shout out to PUD, volunteering at the food bank last week. The PUD was giving out LED light bulbs, shower heads, and power strips. Besides the food that we gave out, it was just fabulous. So thank you to them.
Thank you. Councilmember Frederick.
Thank you, President Ewing. Last week, I attended the Youth Advisory Council meeting. They've continued all of the great work they do, not only planning their local community events, but also working in coordination with other youth advisory councils to plan larger events throughout the region. So very supportive of their very energetic and proactive work, and look to continue seeing what they're doing.
Thank you. Councilmember Peter Shiggins.
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Councilmember Tadger.
Attended the Veterans Commission. We're working on a newsletter to get out to the community and looking for ways for veterans to volunteer. And then I have parks coming up this week, I believe.
Excellent. Thank you. Councilmember Daughtry.
Also attended Youth Advisory Council. One of the major ones that they're working on right now is the Youth Leadership Summit that should be happening on May 7th. It's going to be down at Marysville Getchell High School. Youth from all over the Snohomish County are going to be invited to go to this leadership summit. They've got a keynote speaker we think we're going to have here pretty soon. We're getting ready to acknowledge that. And all of the youth advisory councils in the area are getting ready for their participation with some kind of a format that they're going to be speaking or teaching, or I think ours are going to have a panel discussion about youth leadership. So that's interesting. Also, the Veterans Commission are marching on, just like they told us 2 weeks ago at the meeting. And community transit is, we're doing all kinds of different things right now, trying to figure out what to do for the routes and the low ridership. And the big deal is that right now that we're working on is bus passenger and bus driver safety. There's a lot of problems out there with people riding the bus and doing bad things, and especially to our drivers. And it's just getting out of hand. So we're trying to figure out how to do that. Some of the drivers have come forward and talked to us, just much like in a meeting like this, where they can make their comments, the same as citizen comments can come in here. They can make comments to us on the board. And two of the drivers came by and told us about what's really happening out there. The executive team has been riding the buses at night to find out firsthand what's been going on. It is not pretty, especially down in the South Everett area. So we're trying to figure that out. My solution was cancel the buses. That's easy. There's a lot of problems with that, as they told me, but That we know which routes they are, that we know which stops they are. There's got to be a way to fix that. And I'm really upset about what's going on to our bus drivers. It's just not good. Make sure you check on your neighbors once in a while. I realize pandemic's almost over, quote unquote, but in our neighborhood, we've had a couple of neighbors that had problems and nobody really realized it happened. And if somebody just would have, a next door neighbor would have just said, hey, I haven't seen them for a while, everything would have been okay. But nobody said anything, and the aid car came and had to resuscitate the person. So you need to be checking on your neighbors once in a while. That's all I got.
Thank you. So I did also attend the Youth Advisory Council, and I just want to commend council members Frederick and Daughtry for their leadership and their support of the Youth Advisory Council. They're doing an outstanding job of supporting them and what they're trying to accomplish. Councilmember Daughtry and I also had interviews with the boards and commissions. Like thank our clerks, Shellen and Weaver, for their outstanding job of lining up the folks for those interviews. I'll just say that I've been doing this for a number of years, and I continue to be impressed with both the number of people that apply and the quality of the applicants that we have. It actually makes the decisions more difficult as we go along when you have several very well qualified people for each of the positions that apply. And so I'm grateful that we have that problem, because previously we've had issues with not getting enough people to even apply. So grateful for those people that have stepped forward to serve our community. The boards and commissions perform an outstanding amount of work, a tremendous amount of work for our city. So I just want to recognize all those who serve in those capacities. Mayor, that's it for council business.
Great, good stuff. Before I go into mayor's business, we did have one citizen's comment who was filling out the green sheet while I was asking for citizens' comments. So I'm going to go back to citizens' comments and allow David Toyer to provide citizens' comments for 3 minutes. Mr. Toyer.
Thank you, Mayor. David Toyer, 10519 20th Street Southeast, Suite 3 here in Lake Stevens. I was actually looking to speak to agenda item number 11, the annexation. I am the representative for the petitioners. So I don't know if we can wait till then on your agenda to speak, or.
If you could go ahead now.
Okay, sounds good. I appreciate the opportunity to speak here tonight, especially to actually attend a council meeting in person. It's been a very long time. So very excited to come back downtown and be able to do this. Our company, Toyer Strategic Advisors, represents the owners of the property, who are the petitioners of the annexation. That's before you later tonight for a 10% petition. It is currently property that the city has pre-designated for local business zoning. That is one thing that, as we look to you to accept the annexation, allow us to move forward to the 60%, we'd like to address in getting it actually zoned HUR when it comes in through annexation. And the reason for that is that's the far east end of 20th Street. I drive by there because I live right near there, and I go the back way to Snohomish for stuff, and you get to the top and you've got this beautiful vista of the mountains and everything else. And you do have some neighborhoods that were built in the county under the county's PRD ordinance. And it's more suitable to a residential neighborhood than it is to a local business zone, where you could have a commercial on the first floor and multi-story of residential. And just for kind of comparison's sake, one of the other local business areas in town, which is a great building, and it's in the right type of a location, but that's the building that's out on 204 that has some, one-bedroom apartments above some retail. And that fits in that environment, in my opinion, given the arterial road and everything else. But on the far east end of 20th Street, our concern is that that's really not in the character of that existing neighborhood, nor how that neighborhood is anticipated to build out over time. The other problem that we see, and why we'd like to move away from the local business zone, is it doesn't really provide a lot of options for the types of businesses that you could locate there. So you could do like a gas station, you could do a bar, you could do 4,000 square feet of office space, up to 10,000 square feet of retail. It's with the water line that goes through there and all the other issues, It's got some topography to that site. It just doesn't lend itself very well to any of those types of uses. And so we would appreciate council's consideration of the 10% annexation petition tonight, and in doing so, indicate a designation of medium density residential. And I think that's what it is, medium density residential in what used to be HUR, but it's now R8 to 12. But what we're looking for is R8 to 12 zoning, because it's more reflective of the development that currently exists around there and what we think will be future development patterns, as opposed to a multi-story mixed-use structure up there on the top of the hill. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. I know staff noted in their report they'd like the future applicant to consider a mix of unit types, and my understanding is that is the case. We don't do design work or anything like that, so I can't really speak to that. But I know, those folks are open to looking at, what exactly to design to locate on that site. So thank you.
Thank you. So mayor's business tonight, I've had some great opportunities the last couple of weeks to speak in the community. Last Friday, I was able to talk to a couple of the service classes at the high school. We did it through via Zoom, and it was some great interaction. We had some good questions on how does city government work and how does the mayor interact with city council members. And they also wanted to know my favorite food. So,
Which was.
it depends on where I'm at, really. So, not a solid answer. Right? So it was real good to be with the high school kids, and hope to they'll probably bring me back here soon when we can do it in person, which would be much more pleasant. So, and additionally, this morning I was on a panel with the EASC and their coffee chat time, and talking about some of the economic development that's going on here in Lake Stevens, and some of the good things we have going on currently, based upon some good planning in the past and where we're going in the future. So it's good stuff. So with that, let's move to city department reports. This is the fun time for me. We get to introduce some great new employees. I'm really I've met each one of these folks that we've brought on. We're just attracting great talent to come here and work in the city. And so with that, let's start off with Director Halverson.
Is it working? Test?
Yes.
We'll make it work. Good evening, Mayor and Council. You know me, my name is Aaron Halverson. I am the City Public Works Director. I am pleased to be here tonight to introduce Curtis Clifton. Curtis is our new Public Works Operations Manager. Curtis has worked in the public works industry for the last 17 years. He spent his first 14 years at the City of Mercer Island in their street, surface water, and eventually their utility department, where he became their foreman and supervisor of the water utility crew. Just over 3 years ago, he had an opportunity to go work for the city of Kenmore, where they were building a new public works operations department from whole cloth. I know that. I worked for the city of Lake Forest Park, which is adjacent to Kenmore. He was their he created an in-house public works operations department in their streets and surface water maintenance as their streets and surface water maintenance supervisor. While he was there, he assisted in hiring of a new crew, getting their public works operations up and running. He's married to his wife, Brianna, and has 3 kids, Aspen, Adeline, and Theo. Aspen's 3, Adeline is 2, Theo is 5 months. He shows up to work on time, he works hard, and he's awake. Outside of work, the kids keep him busy. He enjoys getting outdoors when he can, hiking, camping, and teaching his daughters how to fly fish, which is great, a fun skill. Curtis is grateful for the opportunity to serve the community. He's been with us for a few weeks now. He's doing a fantastic job, and he looks forward to advancing the city's public works department.
Great.
Watch the chords, guys.
Thanks for coming.
I was so afraid someone's gonna trip.
All right, and next, Matthew.
Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Matthew Heist. I'm the finance manager here for the city. Thank you for this opportunity to allow me to introduce the city's first grants and capital projects accountant, Jessica Rowe. Jessica has close ties with the community here in Lake Stevens as she grew up here in the city and also graduated from Lake Stevens High School in 2010. Since then, Jessica completed her undergrad studies at the University of Washington and is looking forward to graduating this spring from Eastern Washington University with her MBA with a concentration in accounting. Prior to accepting the position here at the city, Jessica worked for the city of Arlington as a finance technician 3 and is experienced in monitoring procurement compliance, accounts payable processing, and managing capital projects and contract budgets. Jessica brings an emphasis on teamwork and collaboration in the workplace and values honesty, respect, and a strong work ethic. Outside of work, Jessica enjoys gardening, fishing, and spending time with family. And as a side note, I was a fortunate recipient of her candied jalapenos that she grows herself. Besides all this, Jessica is excited to be a part of the City of Lake Stevens team and hopes to be a strong contributor towards achieving community goals. And based on my experience so far, Jessica has already jumped in, making a positive impact. We are excited to have Jessica and happy that she has joined our team.
Watch the chords.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you. Thanks so much. Good to see you too. Yeah. Happy to be here.
I will note that one of the most impressive things I've seen about Jessica so far is I noticed in the back of her truck, there was hay, because she lives on a farm. And I was like, she's gonna be great. So, Barb.
Thank you, Council. Good evening. I would like to introduce our new part-time office assistant, Rondi Spansaver. Kelly, do you have her up there?
Yes,
Rondi.
Hi. Okay.
Rondi has an extensive background in customer service, including retail management with Nordstrom, resort operations for Tulip Tribes, also as a real estate broker for new construction, and is currently serving as the treasurer of her HOA. Rondi started with the city on February 16th, almost 3 weeks ago. As you know, the office assistants are often the first face that citizens see or their first encounter on the phone. And in her short time here, she has already received compliments on her approach and has been called a breath of fresh air by a customer, proving herself as a valuable asset to the city. So Rondi, like a number of our recent employees, Rondi was born and raised in Lake Stevens. When not providing excellent customer service for our city, she enjoys spending time with her longtime partner, Travis, at the recreational property in Verlots. Rondi, if you have anything you would like to add, please do.
I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to serve the city, and I'm just delighted to be here, and thank you for having me this evening.
Thank you, Rondi.
Thank you.
Good to have you, Rondi, and then just be careful. I always tell people that the gateway drug for politics is being on the HOA board.
Okay, thank you. Well noted.
Where it all starts right there. All right, so let's move ahead here with the consent agenda. Can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
So the motion and a second, remember that we're moving Article F to action items. So with that, any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Right, motion passes. I will say, I am, along with President Ewing, very impressed with the two candidates. The one that we put on Planning Commission is outstanding, and as well as on the library board, just great candidates, and we're very fortunate to have such talented people join our city staff in these respective
Yeah, as
spots.
Steve said, it was not easy.
Yeah.
There was some excellent candidates, and it was very, very hard to figure out, but you know, where to go on that one, so.
Yeah, good folks. All right, so with that, let's go to item F, and David.
Yes, so thank you, Mayor Gailey. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Basically, this is a grant that we had applied for. It's a competitive grant through the Department of Ecology to fund updates to Shoreline Master Programs, especially to help with implementation of Shoreline Master Programs or SMPs. So we had submitted a grant proposal to develop a photographic inventory and to develop a user's guide that would help us really to provide a clear picture of what's involved with shoreline development, especially along the shores of Lake Stevens. It can be pretty overwhelming for property owners, for applicants. So we wanted to develop a user's guide. And the first step in developing that guide was really getting a good assessment of the shoreline and especially of non-conforming situations. We've inherited a number of properties, obviously, from Snohomish County over the last decade, especially, that were developed under SMPs from the county that differ pretty significantly from some of the standards that we have within our SMP. So we wanted to get that photographic inventory, get a good assessment of what the on-the-ground conditions are, and then develop this user guide to really help for kind of development, redevelopment, infill development, docks, all sorts of different situations for shoreline development. So I'm happy to answer any questions from council members.
Thank you. David, I take it this is kind of the first step in updating our Shoreline Master Program.
It is correct, yes. So we'll be bringing forward the comp plan dockets. We are planning a minor amendment. We're not in any periodic review at this point. That was done most recently in 2019. We do want to do a couple minor amendments that are being carried over from last year's docket, including some updates to the non-conforming code language to be consistent with Chapter 1432 in the municipal code, which was updated late in 2021. So yes, this would be the first step.
All right, thanks. And then I'm reading on page 1 of this Department of Ecology agreement, it talks about the recipient, which is the Lake Stevens, has found dozens of developments that don't conform with the city's existing shoreline master program. If that's the case, then why are you focusing on the lake itself?
Well, so we're focusing on the shoreline development, and so they technically, I guess that language is incorrect. They're conforming in that they're legally vested to the SMP that they were built under. They are not consistent with our current development standards. The focus is really to get kind of an assessment of all the different variety of nonconformities to the current standards. And as we update our SMP, you know, potentially are there some amendments that need to be done to the SMP. We also want to do kind of a brief audit of other jurisdictions SMPs to see where we're similar, where maybe we're different. We are aware of some other jurisdictions that maybe have smaller buffers or allow for more encroachment. So we really wanted to utilize this grant to really get that kick-started as we move into that update to the SMP.
Right, and the SMP though applies to not only lakefront property though, but our creeks and outflows, right?
It does, correct. We had focused this on the lake. I mean, it's something that we'll, as part of the SMP update, we're going to be looking at those areas as part of the grant funded work. The grant that, as we had written it, was focused on the lake, just because that's obviously the majority of the properties that are within the jurisdiction of the Shoreline Management Act. And so that was the focus of the grant. We still will be looking at Catherine Creek, Little Pilchuck, other areas as we look at updating the SMP.
Okay. And as you know, I guess I'm looking to make sure that the assurance is this isn't a punitive type situation where people are going to have to go out and rectify these problems that are identified that were created under county regulations years ago. And under Lake Stevens regulations, the city has had jurisdiction on the lake for a number of years, not only Snohomish County. So my hope is that this is not going to be used as a punitive type situation to get people to correct perceived problems. Is that
So
correct?
no, it's not intended to be punitive. It's really to get that kind of general assessment. All of these, as long as they were built legally, they received building permits, they received any applicable shoreline permits while they were in Snohomish County, especially say the most recent annexation of the southeast interlocal annexation area, so the southeast portion of the lake. Those are all legally vested. They have maintenance and repair rights for their current development, so there wouldn't be a punitive nature. We're wanting to get this inventory and this assessment to see, maybe any types of updates we need to make to our SMP.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
That's all I have.
Okay. Any other questions for David? Okay, can I get a motion then?
I move to authorize the mayor to sign the interagency agreement with the Department of Ecology for SMP competitive grant award.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Let's move on to action item A, which is trail easement condemnation consideration. Jill and Russ.
Thank you. City Council, Mayor, members of the public. I'm Jill Meese, the Parks Planning and Development Coordinator for Lake Stevens. Tonight, I'm bringing you the condemnation ordinance for the trail construction for what we've been referring to as the Power Line Trail or the West Side Trail. As you will remember, in 2020, the City Council adopted the Trails Master Plan after a really robust public outreach. And that Trails Master Plan guides the city's effort in creating a trail network that provides non-motorized connections throughout the city. Through the prioritization effort, the West Side or this Power Line Trail emerged as a preferred connection point. The first phase of this trail starts at the site that's commonly known as the 20th Street Ball Fields and continues north to 8th Street Southeast. The trail follows that utility access road that's present on the properties. The easements that are needed to construct the trail occur in two neighborhood open space tracts. One is the Quail Port neighborhood and the other is the Willowwood Division 2 neighborhood. The Quail Port open space tract will remain in its current condition, except the utility access road will have an asphalt overlay added to it. This easement is approximately 3,733 square feet, and it's where the wetland crossing takes place. Because the impact is already there for the utility access road, but this portion exists on that open space tract, to minimize our impact to critical areas, we are suggesting to follow that existing alignment. The Willowwood Division 2 easement takes place on the existing utility access road, and there's a pedestrian trail in that location at this time as well, that the neighborhood developers were installed at the time that they constructed that neighborhood. This easement is approximately 18,000 square feet, and those are both depicted in the imaging as the attachments. You were briefed at your February meeting on this project and the potential acquisition of the easements necessary to move forward. But we wanted to outline the efforts that had taken place that staff had taken to notify and have open lines of communication with these neighborhoods. So, briefly, they included visiting the neighborhood door to door on February of 2020, prior to the great close down of COVID. In June of 2020, we sent a letter to the Willowwood Division 2 homeowners describing the process that we were taking, and then the city's intent to construct this trail. In August of 2020, we sent a letter to the Quail Port neighborhood and also the Willowwood Division 2 homeowners, inviting them to an open house. On September 17th, the mayor, park board members, and staff held 2 open houses one for each neighborhood. In October of 2020, the park board was briefed during their public meeting and input was taken on the alignment of the trail. In January of 21, the park board provided input during their public meeting on the design concepts. In April of 2021, the park board was briefed and provided input on the project design using the input from the previous sessions. In May, we again brought it to the park board's public meeting. In June of 2021, the park board and staff held an open house on the 20th Street design that included the community as a whole, as rather than just targeted towards the 2 neighborhoods. But those 2 neighborhoods were also invited to attend as well. In July of 21, the park board was updated and took public outreach or public input. In December 2021, staff mailed a notice to the homeowners within the Quail Court and Willowwood Division neighborhoods. And this again outlined our intent to build the trail and to acquire the easement in the open space parcels. To date, there's been 2 homeowners that have signed the easement in the Willowwood Division 2 neighborhood and 7 homeowners that have signed in the Quail Court neighborhood. In February of 2022, last month, all homeowners that didn't sign the easement were certified mailed a notice of intent to condemn from the city. And on February 22nd and March 1st, the Everett Herald published the notice for the legal section of the newspaper. This trail, as you know, satisfies the goals of a broader planning document in our comprehensive plan, as well as the goals of our Trails Master Plan. I've outlined the goals and policies, the needs that this fills below. I'm happy to go over those in detail, but I have broadly covered them, or in depth covered them in the staff report. I know that the ordinance follows, and then on the attachments, it depicts, where they cross, where the easements will take place on these 2 neighborhoods. I do note that it is where the recreational trail, it's an unofficial trail, but this area has been used by folks walking and running on this trail for some time. It is following that alignment of that existing utility access road as it crosses these 2 parcels. With that, I know that our city attorney Greg is on here on the call at the meeting today. And so I don't know if he has anything to add for this, but I'm happy to answer any questions as well.
No, I'd just say that the staff has done a good job of notifying the property owners of what's going on, and made a good attempt as best we can to try to get cooperation to be able to obtain the easement without going through some sort of legal action. The problem here in this case is that you've got 2 very large open space tracts in which all the property owners of the 2 subdivisions own undivided interests. And those are very difficult situations in which to get everyone to work with the city to be able to obtain the appropriate easements. I'm sure there are cases here where people are just not wanting to get involved. We're going to file, when we file the condemnation action, we probably won't get a lot of people responding to it. Maybe we won't get any. I don't know. But this is one of the cases where we're just not going to be able to acquire the necessary easement other than by filing a condemnation action to be able to obtain the easements. There's not a lot of value in terms of dollar value, and that may be another reason why we're not getting a lot of response from the owners of the property, a number of which are out of state. So, but anyhow, this is a necessary step for us to be able to proceed to file the condemnation action. Hopefully, we'll be able to resolve that without a lot of litigation action, and hopefully we won't have property owners attempting to contest the condemnation. I don't believe that we've really heard any significant protests from any of the property owners. I think we had some questions or what appeared to be minor protests from one, but that person ended up signing an easement. So that's where we're at.
Okay, all right. Anything else, Jill?
I don't have anything to add.
Okay, so other than that, what we need is a motion that approves the proposed ordinance and authorizes the mayor to sign.
I have a couple of questions first. That's okay. And Greg may have addressed this. I wondered if you had gotten any feedback about reasons why homeowners weren't willing to sign the forms, but it sounds like it's not that there's a large level of protest, it's that you're not getting any feedback at all. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. I do note that there were two people from the Willowwood Division 2 neighborhood that contacted me regarding they had in the back of their properties, they had like trailers parked, and they wanted to be able to pull down the trail and remove the trailers. And we had offered that on a limited basis, the city could close the section of trail just so there wasn't any conflict of use, and answered those questions for them. In Quail Court, since the mailing has gone out, I have not heard any over the course of these year and a half or 2 years now, I guess it is. We've answered a lot of questions from the neighborhoods that they've, different residents have called with different questions and different input. When we originally looked at this plan, we looked at it as kind of a broader area, maybe developing the entire open space tract because it really wasn't being used. And so we had proposed that to the neighborhood at Quail Court, and but through their public comment, it was just not a favorable. They didn't want to proceed with that, so we dropped that portion of it, and instead brought the trail back over, and then had the access into our parking lot that accesses directly to 20th. So there has been some definite contact and have had some discussion back, but not since the mailing has gone out with the intent to condemn.
Can you tell me approximately how many households are we talking about that either haven't signed or haven't responded?
In the Quail Court neighborhood, I believe there's 33 lots. I'd have to check to be sure, and we've had 7 people sign from there. In Willowwood, there's 24, and we've had 2 sign. In Willowwood, when we have sent out the mailings, we didn't receive any attendance at the meetings when we had the open house for that neighborhood, and we haven't had any correspondence other than the ones that we mentioned, and then had the 2 homeowners come in and sign.
Okay, thank you.
I'll just mention, I sat in on those open houses, and basic concerns from the neighborhood was just parking. How was the parking going to work? And I think we settled a lot of those questions out of the way, and that's why we probably haven't heard a lot on that.
Any other questions for staff? Can I get a motion?
Move to approve condemnation ordinance for trail construction.
1135.
Approve condemnation ordinance number 1135 for trail construction.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Note there was one. nay. Two. Okay, sorry.
Opposed?
2 opposed. All right. So that motion passes. Let's move forward to action item B, which is accept a 10%. Accept 10%. I don't know how to say that. Federally annexation petition and authorize 60% petition circulation. David.
All right, thank you, Mayor Gately. I'm just going to share my screen just for a couple slide PowerPoint, mostly to show a couple images of the area, and then I'm happy to answer any questions. So hopefully you're able to see that. So we are here tonight for a 10% petition annexation. This is also known as the direct petition method. So just a little bit of an overview of the area. It is 3 parcels on the south side of 20th Street Southeast, basically just south of kind of the southeast corner of the city of Lake Stevens, as it was expanded with the recent Southeast Interlocal annexation. On either side of Williams Road. It's about 13 acres across the 3 parcels. The annexation area would also involve the adjacent right-of-way of Williams Road there that's shown on the map. The city has received the direct petition annexation. It includes signatures from property owners representing more than 10% of the assessed value of the area. It actually includes 100% of the property owners. As Mr. Toyer had indicated earlier in his public comments, the area there along 20th on the south side of 20th currently has a land use designation of local commercial and a zoning designation of local business. That was the same zoning designation that existed on the north side of 20th, just across the street, until late 2020 when it was changed back to residential to facilitate the Southeast Interlocal annexation. That was a requirement that it have residential zoning. So the applicant, as Mr. Toyer noted, is requesting a high density residential land use designation as well as RA12 zoning. And so that would be a change to the pre-designations that were established as part of the 2019 comp plan docket. So it's showing just a quick map of the zoning and an aerial of the area. So on the left there, it has that local business zoning designation. It's those areas in the hash marks. And then as you can see, the parcels are there outlined in yellow. It's also included in attachment 2. If you look to the west, there are a number of subdivisions that have been developed in Snohomish County, planned residential development subdivisions. Including the one directly west is known as, I believe, Pasadena Heights. And then further west is Hawksbeard. Those are smaller lot subdivisions. They're generally between about 3,000 square foot to 5,500 square foot lots. So a little bit more in line with the RA12 zoning than with R6 zoning. To the south, it's larger lots. And then a little bit further to the southwest, it's larger lots as well. So there's a variety of different residential uses adjacent to these parcels. So the questions that we have tonight for council, there is the option for the council to request that the boundaries be expanded. It is just these 3 parcels that are currently being proposed. In the past, the council has requested that the boundaries be expanded to include additional adjacent areas. So that's one option that the council has. And then staff wanted to get any preliminary feedback from the city council as far as the requested high density residential land use designation and RA12 zoning designation. That doesn't need to be decided upon tonight. If we move this forward and the council approves the petition, the direct petition, and allows the applicants to move forward with the 60% petition with an analysis of that RA12 zoning, the applicant would need to prepare a SEPA checklist and take a look at the environmental impacts, some of the traffic impacts, among other things. So there still is an opportunity to further discuss the zoning designation of the property. So with that being said, staff's recommendation tonight is to approve resolution 2022-01, which would be to accept the 10% annexation petition and authorize the circulation of the 60% petition. with the land use and zoning designations being established as part of that 60% petition resolution that would be required before moving it on to the Snohomish County Boundary Review Board. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
The question for you, so the applicant or the representative for the applicant mentioned the Everett water line. What other topographical or other limitations on the acreage there would limit the ability for current zoning uses?
I think that is the general concern there. The water line there on the northern portion of the properties. The applicant's representative probably knows the site a lot better than I do at this point. I have not done a site visit. I just took a look at the aerials and some of the general topography. I have not been out to the site. I'd welcome any additional input, but we can do some additional research on that.
Councilmember Ewing, the site does slope from north to south, so there is quite a grade change also on that site, but the biggest encumbrance does remain the Everett water line.
Okay, thank you.
Does the city limits include 122nd Drive Southeast off of Williams Road?
On the south side or on the north side?
South side of these parcels.
So no, everything south of 20th in this area is within the UGA, so it's outside the city limits.
Okay.
So David, you mentioned that the large subdivisions that's to the southwest, is it Palisades or?
I think Pasadena, I think Pasadena Heights maybe.
So the proposed development of R8 to R12 would be similar to that?
It would be, yeah. The minimum lot size in the RA12 for detached single family residential is 4,000 square feet. So it would be kind of right in the middle of where most of those lots are. They're generally between about 3,000 and 5,500 square feet.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions for David? If not, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the 10% annexation petition and authorize the circulation of the 60% petition for the Fagerly annexation pursuant to resolution 2022-01. Also following the recommendation that the city requires simultaneous adoption of land use and zoning designations and require the assumption of all existing city indebtedness, as well as designating this property R8 to R12. I think that covers it.
Okay, Kelly, did you get that motion?
I did. Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. And do we have any discussion on the motion?
I do have a question. I don't know who this question is directed to. Is the designation that Councilmember Shigan mentioned, is that permissible?
He just mentioned the zoning designation, the
Okay.
land use designation. If I can offer a suggestion, would be high density residential with a zoning designation of R8.
Okay, thank you.
To sort of amend that motion to include land use designation of high density residential.
Correct.
Okay, so I have an amendment to the motion. Do I have a
I'll second that.
second to the amendment? Okay, there's a second to the amendment. And so with that, is there any discussion on the amendment? Hearing no discussion on the amendment, and just on the amendment, all those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, the amendment passes. We'll go to the original motion. Is there any further discussion on the original motion?
Does tying these things together mean that they all have to happen, or they can, or none can happen? That if it's all in one motion? The annexation and the land use and the zoning change?
This is just to accept the 10% petition. There's a lot more down the road that needs to take place. So I guess setting the parameters of the land use around the 10% is what we're doing at this point.
It doesn't, it doesn't stop one part from moving forward if the other part doesn't happen.
One part, what do you?
Like, it doesn't stop the annexation from moving forward if the zoning, yeah, the
If
land
there's
use,
problems with the land use.
right.
The
So
land use-
for the purpose of accepting a 60% petition, the applicant needs to identify the land use and the zoning designation that they would like. So with your amendment, it just sets that stage that as you explore the 60%, the people signing that petition know what their request is to the council, and the council knows what the request is of them.
Excellent.
And then there will be a process, a public hearing to go through where you evaluate what is the impact of that action.
So they go through that work to determine that, and then a decision is made after that work is done as to whether or not it actually gets rezoned.
Right, council still has to accept the 60%
Got it.
petition later on, and then adopt an ordinance annexing the territory and amending its land use and zoning maps
Thank you,
at a
Russ.
future date.
Appreciate that.
Any other discussion?
Just one last question for clarification. I thought I heard it during the public comments. I thought I heard that 100% of the landowners of these parcels had signed on even at the 10%.
Correct.
That's correct.
I just want to verify that.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. So that is the end of our agenda up to executive session. We do have an executive session tonight. There is 2 topics that we'll be taking on: potential litigation for RCW 42.30.1110 and property acquisition as well. There will be no action. So what we do in executive session is we use this room for the executive session. We ask citizens to step outside. You're welcome to come back in, but just know that there's no action other than us adjourning when we return.
How long do you need, Mayor?
Thank you for coming. We're gonna need 25 minutes. Let's start with 25 minutes.
Did he say start with 25 minutes?
Mayor, he's asking, Sean's asking if you need 25 minutes. Sean's asking you something.
Did you really say 25 minutes?
I said 25 minutes.
Good to know.
It's kind of fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's 7:40 and the council has requested an additional 5 minutes of their executive session, and we'll be back at 7:45. Go ahead.
All right, so we're back live after executive session. There's no action after that executive session. If I get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have an adjournment.
Who was the
Thank you very
second?
much for your work.
Who was the second?
It is great things.
I'll give. Mary. Okay.
Thank you, Mary.